to the third season of Native Strength. I'm your host, Hyapatia. At the end of the last season, we discussed the Hawaiian Huna and the shadowy bodies of the low, middle, and higher selves, or the inner children, adults, and elders. There are many forces in nature that are unseen. Until they're discovered, these forces are considered mysteries or perhaps even pseudosciences. These include thermodynamics, magnets, electricity, and sound waves. So it's not only understandable, it's expected that there will be other fields of energy that we will learn to use as humanity progresses. I was taught that there are 72 different universal laws that we can't begin to comprehend without understanding these unseen energy fields. Empty space is not, well, empty. This is a box with nothing in it. It's a vacuum. To be precise, it's a simulation of what's going on in a vacuum. As you can tell, there's a lot of stuff happening here. This is a simulation by Professor Derek Lineweber of the University of Adelaide. It was made using a supercomputer. What you are seeing are quantum chromodynamics. That's the theory of quarks, the building blocks of protons and neutrons, and how they interact with each other through gluons. This is the energy density of the gluon field fluctuations. The red spots indicate very high energy. The blue indicates the energy has slowed a bit. The slowest energy fluctuations are not even seen here because if they were, we wouldn't be able to see into it. So what I'm saying is a vacuum is not empty space. It's full of energy. You are witnessing the gluon energy field. This is the energy field of quarks, which make up protons, and neutrons, which make up atoms, which make up everything. I'm talking about the unified field theory. The theory that there are unified fields of consciousness. And this theory is backed up by modern science. These fields are implicated in our immune response, weather patterns, our cognitive abilities, and much more. Even though these things seem very different, they're all linked to the magnetic fields of the Earth. Every human being on this planet is linked to these fields. In fact, it's not just humans. Every living being is connected. We are all linked, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. Now, when we consciously choose to work with these fields and create coherence in our bodies and in our world, it's like tuning in a radio station clearly on the dial. The static goes away, and we're in harmony, resonating with the earth and each other. This is how we can hear our inner elders. This is how we can find our path to happiness, health, harmony, hope, and humor. We humans are determiners of energy. We decide what we will do with our time, how we will change our environment, and what we will create in our lifetimes. We can decide to use these unseen energy fields to our advantage or not, just like we can decide to use magnets and electricity to make our lives better. There are ways to work with these unseen energy fields of Rupert Sheldrake and Derek Lineweber as well. The first step is to acknowledge that they exist in the first place. Do you remember the human assemblage point I've talked about before? When we get stressed and emotional, whether it's because we're thinking about the painful past or a problem that just happened in the here and now, it's easy to let our breathing get out of control. We may find ourselves not taking the time to exhale all the way, and we may start to breathe faster. This can even lead to a panic attack. When we're born, we have a static assemblage point, or SAP, at our navel. In the first 3 years of life, the static assemblage point begins to move up the center of our body in front of our spine and over until it's positioned near our heart. The static assemblage point is like a radio or TV antenna that's tuned to a particular station. It determines how we perceive reality based on what position it's in. It's like we can only pick up certain stations when our SAP is over our heart because we're working with our raw emotions. When the SAP is centered in the navel, we feel connected to the Great Spirit and all of creation. We're enlightened and full of unconditional love. When it's over our heart, we're controlled by our emotions, and that's when we get overwhelmed and can find it hard to breathe and rise above our feelings. It is possible to shift the SAP back to the center of our body and back down to the navel. There are several ways to do it, but when we're in the middle of a stressful situation, we use a technique called Warrior Presents Fire. You imagine the SAP, a white light in your body, and you use your mind and your breath to move it over to your spine and down to your navel. It helps to hold your hands in this position over your solar plexus and imagine fire shooting out of your index fingers. The fire is your anger, frustration, and fear, and any other emotion you want to let go of. When you inhale, breathe in through your belly button. The object is to try not to let your shoulders move. Instead, your stomach should fill up. You see the difference? Stressed. Warrior presents fire. Breathe in pure white light, full of love and positive energy from the Creator through your navel, and exhale all of the things that are causing you pain through your index fingers. Do you see how your hands are protecting the source of your positive energy? Remember now, we're not pointing our negative energy at anyone or anything. We're just getting rid of it. Moving our assemblage point back over the navel isn't just for calming us down. It's a way to be in harmony with the Schumann resonance of the earth that we've talked about before. It's a way to tap into that particular unseen energy field. When we're in alignment with our environment, we're working with these unseen fields and not against them. It's like turning the magnet around and letting the attracting ends connect instead of continuously trying to force them against their natural repelling action. It's tuning our radio into the station instead of static. We have the choice to live in darkness or to use these energy fields to our advantage. There are 3 human assemblage points: the static assemblage point, or SAP, the moving assemblage point, or MAP, and the great light assemblage point, or GLAP. The static assemblage point we've been talking about is a focal point of energy within the aura. When we're born, all 3 assemblage points are localized in the navel. We're in a place of harmony and alignment with the universe, and we know our oneness with everything. Over the course of 3 years, the static assemblage point begins to move up the chakra line. It finds a spot that has been predetermined by each of us before our birth to enable us to perceive reality in a way that's best suited for the specific growth and experiences we need from this particular life. Once it finds its spot, it's essentially in a fixed position, but it can be shifted. In fact, it's desirable to shift the sap back down toward the navel. This temporary shift can be done with the help of crystal shifting, chanting, songs of power, meditation, and ceremony. It can also be shifted diagonally when working with certain teaching plants, and even shifted down the side by extreme fear, terror, psychosis, and tyrants. This straight down shift causes a distorted view of reality. It's said that if the sap moves straight down the side past the navel, death will occur instantaneously. I believe this would manifest as cardiomyopathy, or a broken heart attack. As we work toward enlightenment with mindfulness and meditation, the sap will become positioned toward the center chakra line and then down towards the navel again. If a 1 inch or more shift is maintained for at least a year, then this will become the new resting position of the sap. If this new position is maintained for 3 years, the sap will never go back up over this point. The moving assemblage point, or map, leaves the navel and begins to circulate through the meridians of the body after we're born. It's like the chi, or energy, of Asian medicine, which flows through the meridians in repeating cycles. It's responsible for creating our daily, monthly, and yearly energy cycles. The Great Light Assemblage Point, or GLAP, remains in the navel throughout our lifetime. It's the point from which we reach out to perceive reality, the universal truths of existence. The soul vine, or luminous fibers of the human cocoon, are sent out from the glap into the universe to maintain our connection and alignment with our source and with the womb of creation. Seen from reverse, it's the point from which the Great Spirit assembles us as part of the Creator's innumerable points of perception. In a sense, it could be said that it's the transmission line between us and our Creator. It's where we can perceive all realities within all of the worlds. When we become fully enlightened, the static assemblage point is positioned in the third chakra along with the Great Light Assemblage Point. Now, our perception of reality and the Great Spirit's perception of reality are one. We can see through the eyes of the Creator to understand all perceptions across time and space. The shadowy bodies of the kahunas are in a similar type of such field. The Hawaiians say they are made up of aka, a sticky, stretchy substance. When we touch something, we leave behind a thin, shadowy thread of aka. The more we touch that object, the more aka there is attaching us to it. So our keys, for example, have an aka cord that has become relatively thick over a period of time. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake has a theory he calls morphogenetic resonance. There are many components to this theory. One of these has to do with the aka cord that connects us to the people and things we interact with frequently. Now, he doesn't call it an aka cord. In fact, he doesn't look at this force in this way at all. But in fact, it is the same principle. Rupert Sheldrake did an experiment with homing pigeons. Now, many experiments have been done with homing pigeons during the years. People have tried to pinpoint how they find their way back to their home. We've deduced that it isn't with smell. We blocked up the poor little birds' nostrils, and they still found their way home. It isn't with the electromagnetic fields of the earth. We placed little copper coils on their heads and interfered with their reception. They still found their way home. So, Rupert Sheldrake decided to move the entire coop. He put their loft on a tractor and moved it 300 yards away. He made sure it was hidden underneath trees and not at all easy to find. The birds would have to make several twists and turns on their path to get to it. It took them about an hour, but they found it. The medicine men and women I studied with would say that they followed their Aka cord back home. I was taught that there are 144 natural laws. These are essentially instructions for how to maintain balance on Earth. Modern science has discovered 72 of these natural laws. The second 72 could be considered pseudoscience by many people at this point in history. Rupert Sheldrake's discovery is one of the laws that opens the way for the next 71 to be discovered. Just as you saw in the video about one of the ways to move the human assemblage point, there are certain ways to work with the natural energy of the earth and our body. As I mentioned in the video, these often involve ways to hold the hands. Our hands exude energy. You can see it in Kirlian photography, the special kind of imagery that can take pictures of our auras. When we connect our hands, we move this energy back through us in different ways, depending on how we hold our hands. One of the most common and well-known hand positions is with the palms together as in prayer. In Native culture, this is the first position and it sits in the south. You'll remember that most wheels start in the south. This is the position of connection. It's where we allow our inner adults to be still for a while and let the children communicate with the elders. It's where we know we're part of something much greater than our individual bodies, and we consciously choose to reconnect with the source of our life force. There's a reason this is known around the world for connecting to our Creator. There's truth and power in it. You remember that the south of the Wheel of Life stands for the children. We come to our elder for wisdom and guidance as a child. Now, most people stop here. Some may make a request in prayer, but these may seem to frequently fail. Remember to use your breathing and the instructions from the Huna videos to build up energy for this next step. Thinking about the unified field theory and how our body uses energy, when making a request or planting a seed for what we wish to see in the future, it helps to work with this energy by cupping your thumb in your fist. It's as if your thumb is the seed. It's cupped by your other hand, surrounded in energy to help it come to fruition. Some said it should be the left hand that cups the right thumb, but they were rather unclear about left-handed people. One of my sons is left-handed, and I do many things with my left hand that most people do with their right, except for writing, so this was of some concern to me. I'm still unclear on it. So my suggestion would be to do what feels best for you. Try it both ways, the left thumb within the right hand and the right thumb within the left hand. See what feels right for for you. I can't stress this enough. Be very careful what you ask for because you just might get it. Are you sure this would make you happy? What would the ramifications be for others in your life? Would this tie you up so you wouldn't be able to take advantage of an unforeseen opportunity further down the road? These are things you should consider before making your request. We'll move to the West Hand tie in a later episode. The hand ties and chakras are closely related. You may have noticed I speak of the chakras, the energy points on the body that most people associate with yoga and Eastern philosophies. I was taught about these energy points as well, but with some very slight differences. Again, I believe this is because there is truth and wisdom in this knowledge. The root chakra is depicted with this sigil in Eastern culture, but I was taught Native Americans use this symbol. It represents the creative force energy. As I mentioned, we humans are determiners of energy. We decide what we will do with our time, and the root chakra gives us this creative force to dream up all kinds of wonderful things to create. The first step to anything is dreaming it up. And that's why the root chakra stands for our creative force. Naturally, this also refers to sexual creative energy, but our culture has suppressed sexuality so much that when we hear the words sexual creative force, many people focus on the sexual aspect. In all actuality, most creativity doesn't necessarily involve the sexual organs. Still, that energy is centered here. One of the most important philosophies I want to share with you is the concept that all actions should be considered unto 7 generations. If we plan to create something, how will that affect the future? We have to look further than the nose on our face. How will that affect our great-grandchildren's grandchildren? Will it make their lives more difficult? If so, it goes against sacred law. Today, many people are too greedy to think beyond tomorrow or next year. They assume that the future generations will be able to solve all of the problems we plan to dump in their laps. Not only is that arrogant, but it places a substantial burden on our grandchildren. There can be no doubt this goes against the very first sacred law. Nothing shall be done to harm the children. This is the second chakra as it's often symbolized in Eastern culture. But in Native tradition, this is how it's seen. It represents the balance of male and female with individual autonomy and freedom. So to sum it up, what I'm telling you in this episode is that the things I've learned from the elders of Turtle Island are just now being discovered by modern physicists. If you thought Native Americans were primitive, think again. The Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan has a base that is almost identical in size to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Together with the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, they reflect the alignment of Orion's belt, just as the Egyptian pyramids. Today, most of the foods we eat came from our agricultural manipulations. Potatoes, squash, tomatoes, pumpkins, avocados, papaya, beans, chocolate, peanuts, peppers, pineapple, sweet potatoes, sunflowers, and of course corn were all given to us by Native Americans. The Aztecs of Central America developed a wonderful method of utilizing the concepts of hydroponics. They built rafts of stalks and tough roots that were lashed together and loaded up with sediment from the shallow lake bottom. Because the sediment came from the lake bottom, it was rich in a variety of organic compounds to nourish and grow the plants. They had abundant crops of vegetables, flowers, and even trees. The roots of the plants grew through the floor, allowing a constant water source and root oxygenation. Sometimes they were joined together to form floating islands as long as 200 feet. Cahokia was a city that at its peak from AD 1050 to 1200 was larger than many European cities, including London. It was located across the Mississippi River from modern day St. Louis and was the largest pre Columbian city north of Mexico. They were sophisticated copper workers. Recent research shows that many of the people who lived in Cahokia were immigrants who came from across the Midwest, possibly traveling from as far away as the Great Lakes and the Gulf Coast. Now, why would they travel to Cahokia? Well, I was taught that there were 22 major cities in North, Central, and South America that were part of what was known as the Rattlesnake School. These cities were centers of knowledge and learning, much like Alexandria, Egypt, with its great library. Unlike cities of similar size in Europe, like London, our cities were not polluted. We learned to live with nature. This knowledge is integral to the 71 laws we have yet to discover in modern times. If we don't learn to work with nature and these unseen energy fields, we're going to make things much more difficult for ourselves than they really need to be. People on the path to enlightenment and wisdom would travel to these 22 power spots to learn with the masters. These students were called twisted hairs. They wove into their belief system any and all knowledge that sang to their heart. As we say, if it grows corn for you, it's wisdom. So many of the things we're just discovering today were taught in the Rattlesnake School centuries ago. They used different words to explain the concepts, but the ideas were the same. We've already been discovering these concepts, and we're going to continue our journey down the Twisted Hair's Rattlesnake School path in our next Native Strength episodes.